My youth was spent fishing in places like this, the Kennet, the Thames, fishing anywhere I could, whether it's trotting a float through and fishing a little feeder or link ledger like I'm doing now. And that's sort of how I learnt how to fish and developed that love of fishing that's stuck with me ever since and really dictated a big part of the direction of my life. Whilst lots of people wouldn't see this as nature, it just shows how well fishing can connect you to your local environment, and look where we are here. It's a case in point, I guess. The thing that really captured my imagination on this river was the roach. And as a kid, my dad might be barbel fishing in one or two of the known swims, and I'd creep around with a float rod and some maggots or some bread, and had some brilliant times catching the roach here, and some surprises as well. I was really fortunate that a lot of, whether it's big rivers like the Thames or small streams like the Holybrook here, were accessible and had those elements of either free fishing or very cheap club tickets that for a couple of quid for a junior you could fish for a year. And it's so important. That's been the same moving on through the different things I fish for, even into the carp fishing I've done more recently as kids have come along and the requirements of the job have changed. That the vast majority of those waters that I cut my teeth on carp fishing were inexpensive club waters at the time. So yeah, there's lots of exciting places you can fish that for the cost of a club ticket or like this free fishing, then you can certainly enjoy your passion. Anglers are so diverse in what they want and what their interest areas are. And I can be talking to a carp angler one day who's got some similarities but a lot of differences with a game angler, with a sea angler. And what you find out is that actually we focus a lot more as the angling community on the differences we've got rather than what unites us and what we hold in common. All of us want clean water, clean environments with plentiful fish stocks in them. That doesn't matter whether it's a sea, the river behind us, gravel pits, lakes, canals. That is what anglers want. And fundamentally, the role of the Angling Trust and Fish Legal is trying to deliver that as best possible for the angling community. I remember catching a particularly good roach from this swim back, I don't know, I must have been about 7 or 8, wearing a kind of blue jumper with Mickey Mouse on the front, holding this absolutely fin perfect roach of probably, I don't know, 110, 112, something like that, but awesome fish. We'll put another ball in and come back and see if his brothers and sisters or grandparents are still living here. On the bigger rivers, you might be looking for glides and creases for fishing for the roach, whereas sometimes on these smaller rivers, they're sort of, you'll find them in the place you just look at and say, that's a chub swim. And I don't think you could come up with a more designer chub swim than the one just here. So let's hope there's a roach sitting down there. Tip jabs round, I really don't know who's going to be more surprised. It'll be me or the fish. It honestly doesn't look like it's been fished since I was here as a kid. We'll catch fish tomorrow. It's crazy some of the things you see when you're out by the river fishing, isn't it? We're just walking back, one swim left to try, and walk past the garden over here, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's a deer sitting in the bottom of the garden. The town centre's about 400 yards downstream, and as we found, you've got another 400 yards upstream of garden after garden on that bank, so crazy the places fishing takes you, isn't it? And the wildlife you see when you're out here. Even if we're not seeing too many fish at the moment. One of the big areas that I've probably done more in than we've seen previously with the Trust is around marine policy. Recreational sea anglers have finally been recognised as a key stakeholder, but that brings with it a huge amount of work. So things like fisheries management plans, things like common fisheries policy, and that sits both domestically in the UK, but also in our role within the European Anglers Alliance. So we do an awful lot of work in that area as well. When you look at coastal communities, fishing recreationally is one of the key activities. Those coastal communities are often what people describe as underrepresented groups. They're not always the most socially affluent areas or economically affluent areas, but fishing's a key part of the heritage, and recreational sea anglers, as much as coarse anglers, need representation from the Angling Trust, and that's what we provide. Just trying to avoid putting it in the tree first go. We come down to fish for my favourite species, which is big river roach on my favourite river, the Hampshire Avon. But we've come up to the upper reaches, see if we can find a roach or two out of the flood conditions. That was a bite. Lovely. In recent years, fished for all sorts of different things. I've spent a lot of time catching big carp, but I'll always come back to these. Gorgeous fish. There are a number of things that I'm really proud of when I look at my tenure at the Angling Trust and things that we've delivered that maybe sometimes don't get the level of recognition. So the schools programme, Real Education. We are not a well-resourced national governing body compared to some of the bigger sports, but the impact of that Real Education programme, going into schools, aligning with the national curriculum and creating that desire in 80% of the kids that go in and experience this. It's not a small number either, and we're talking like 40,000 kids a year that we're engaging and creating that pathway for them to become anglers in the future, get off screens, get away from those things, but do it in their local blue and green spaces with their local community clubs. So we're acting as that conduit and feeder into these clubs to help the clubs develop programmes for kids to come in and try fishing. Doesn't matter whether it's game, sea, course, they can all work through that programme. So I'm really proud of launching that, and that wouldn't have happened without the support of the trade in order to do that. When you look at the Get Fishing Awards, lots of people watching probably have kids that go swimming, and they get their duckling badge or their 5 metre or 10 metre. That's all accredited by the national governing body. The same person signs it off on their certificate, and whether you're in Carlisle or Cornwall, you get the same programme to run through at a basic level. Fishing now has that for the first time through the Get Fishing Awards. So any club that wants to access funding to run participation events, any individual who wants to become a coach and give something back into their community, they can pick up this syllabus and they can run it and they can support kids on their first step into the sport. So I'm really proud of that. And then when you take that same theme to the next step, some of our international teams have done phenomenally well over the last few years, but where we've really focused our attentions has been on the talent pathways. So launching them into the sea angling community. We've got more work to do in game. We appreciate that. It's one of my focuses for the year ahead. But you look at the talent pathway we run alongside Tackle Guru and the success that we've seen through the under 15s, under 20s, under 25s in the course angling world has been phenomenal. It'd be remiss of me to move on from the things I'm really proud of without touching on the work of Fish Legal, because it is utterly phenomenal. It's unique. There is no other sports body that has the legal teeth to be able to take polluters to court, to be able to protect their active environment. Because without these rivers, the lakes or our seas, we can't go fishing. And one of the biggest concerns people have is fish stocks and water quality. And the work that Fish Legal do in holding regulators to account, in holding polluters to account, in funneling all of those damages that we receive on behalf of angling clubs who are our members back into enhancing the environment, protecting it for fish. That's phenomenal, and I'm really proud of that. The aim is casting into the slacker water straight ahead there. So we're just trying to hold it back along that line there, just on that crease. You're really searching out the fish, you're taking it to them. You can learn your swim very quickly. You'll see there, that's right the way down the bottom of the swim. So I maybe need to change my feeding slightly, a little bit more maybe, just to try and draw the fish up the swim, because I want to catch them on my terms, and I want to catch them in the swim a little bit higher up. When you think of a 3-pound river roach, which, there's a fish, which in my mind is the holy grail. That fish is probably 15, 18 years old. And when you think about everything it's gone through to get to that side, the battles it's faced, the predators it's come, that's a nice fish, predators it's come across, they're just amazing fish. When you hook a big one and it thumps back, you just know it's a big fish. Your knees go to jelly more than any other fish I've ever fished for, and that's why I love them. Need to catch a bigger one. I'm a big dace fan too. This one looks like it's had a lucky escape earlier in life, but such cool fish. That's better. Oh, I hate it when they come up on the surface. Well, there we have it. 2 beautiful examples of Upper Hampshire Avon chalk stream roach, my absolute favourite fish from my favourite river. So when you see that deep body flash below the surface when you've hooked a roach, I don't know about you, but my knees go to jelly when I see that. I don't want to go. There it goes. Stunning fish. We've got about an hour's light left, so we're going to go upstream and see if we can get a big one. Working in something that allows you to have an impact positively on your passion, I'm really privileged in that respect. So whether it's the work that Fish Legal are doing and holding polluters to account, when I talk to people about that, people from outside of the angling world, they're rightly shocked about the way that our rivers are being treated, and we finally got it elevated up the political agenda and people are recognising that problem. I'm really proud that we've played a part in that. And when you look at the Angling Trust side and you talk to non-anglers about fishing, you talk to them about some of our brilliant ambassadors who are maybe on the television and promoting fishing to new audiences. What I'm really proud at is that we're creating opportunities for those families, those kids, those people returning to angling, or those people who want to fish as an escape from other things in their life or as a positive element upon their mental health and well-being. We are providing opportunities for all to do that. And I'm really proud to work for an organisation that have that at the heart of its ethos. Those are the key drivers for us. Fighting for fishing and the environment, and protecting, promoting and developing angling opportunities for all. How could you not be proud to work for organisations that have that as their motto? We've just come upstream from where we've been catching roach earlier, but at the moment, all I've got to show is an out-of-season trout. As I've unhooked it, looked in its mouth, and can you see what you can see there? That's amazing. And this is what he coughed up. Little bullhead. So I've changed over to a longer float rod. This is a 15-foot float rod, a bigger float and a piece of flake feeding just a bit heavier on the bread side, just probably less likely to catch the volume of fish like this or here, but we might just get a good one. It's quite humbling to work in something you're so passionate about, trying to make a difference for these amazing places and these incredible creatures that often just don't get the recognition they deserve, because that world below the surface is a completely different world, and it's one that's captivated me for all of my life, and I hope it will continue to for all of the rest of my life. Chub. There we go. So when we walked upstream, I walked past this swim and I just thought, that's a stunning swim, I've got to try that before we go. So walking back to the car, popped in here, haven't even put any bait out, just run a piece of bread down this beautiful crease line, and so many times as it gets to dark, the float goes under and you get that bang bang fight when you're roach fishing, and you think, is this the fish of my dreams? Sadly, it's not the fish of my dreams, but it's a stunning chub from a beautiful chalk stream. And who could be unhappy about catching one of those to round the day off? Thank you, Mr. Chub.